No, I'm just going to jump in. Glenn Wasserstein is joining us right now on set. I don't know if my producer is ready for him to come on, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring him anyway. Good to see you. I feel like we've talked to you throughout this entire ordeal and different stories that we've talked about. So now the day is finally here that we've said leading up to this point. Your thoughts on the arrest that we're seeing right now and how this is playing out so far. And this is just the beginning.
So this is just the first moments of this whole situation. So we really don't have a lot of information yet. We have no statistics, but based on Chicago and based on Charlotte, I want the public to know that this is not the worst of the worst, that less than 5% of the people in detention right now have serious criminal convictions.
Okay.
Now this is warrantless sweeps. So what they're doing is they're utilizing the Supreme Court's decision, recent decision, allowing racial profiling for the first time in 50 years, which is a really shameful thing for this country. They're utilizing that, and they're pushing it to its limits, and they're just stopping anyone who's brown or black. And they're harassing them, and they're not even giving them a chance to prove that they're U.S. citizens. They're simply harassing them. This is a whole new type of immigration enforcement, and it's really just beginning, and the ugliness is just starting.
Doesn't that make your job difficult, especially when you have people that are being picked up or arrested, or clients that are being picked up and arrested, and they're not able to, they're immediately detained, and they're not able to prove that they are in the country legally? Do we see people being asked that question? Because there are circumstances where they said someone asked if my husband, we heard someone ask if my husband was legal. He said he was legal and they let him move forward. But then there were instances like we saw from our Paul Murphy, the reporter, who told us that we just seen a number of people getting picked up at construction sites. Do you have that possibility to show that you are here legally, or that you are in the process of being here legally, or are they all swept up in one big move?
So I'm not going to say every ICE agent and every Border Patrol agent is violating the law and being violent, but a lot of them are. And a lot of them are violating their own rules. So DHS, and I can only assume this is coming from above, DHS agents, including ICE and Border Patrol, are violating the law, violating their own rules. They're approaching people for no other reason than being Hispanic looking. Now that is an expansion of what the Supreme Court allowed. They simply put a stay on racial profiling as race only. It's been 50 years since you can use race only to pull over someone and to speak to them. Now they can, and ICE is running with that. I don't see any way to advise people, like you were saying, when they're not following their own laws.
What are you telling your clients at this point?
I'm telling the employers to not let them in any private spaces, and this is very important. So if one of them comes into your business and says, I want to see your employee records, you say, do you have a notice of inspection? You're supposed to have a notice of inspection in order to get your records. If they say, yes, I have one, here it is, then you exercise your 3 days. You have 3 days to produce those employee records for an NOI. Okay, they don't tell you that, but you have 3 days. So say, I'll give it to you in 3 days, give me your number. If they come in and want to go in the back and investigate your employees, say, no, that's a private space, do you have a warrant? And if they only have an ICE warrant, an I-205 or an I-200, that's not a valid search warrant. They don't have the right to go into any private spaces, into any residence. So I think the key here is for residences, don't open the door. Say no at the door, through the door. For businesses, don't let them in any private spaces, and exercise your rights, saying I'm exercising my right to not let you into these private spaces unless you have a judicial warrant. They rarely have a judicial warrant.
I can't imagine the fear associated with this situation, given that there are so many questions about who's being picked up and whether or not there is any sort of real legal defense for people, or if they're just being shipped right back.
So they're being shipped around the country. So this is an interesting point you're bringing up. So when someone was picked up in New York or Chicago or Charlotte, they were being shipped to Louisiana in order to keep them from their attorneys, from their community, from their families.
Like we saw with Mahmoud Khalil.
Yeah, so, exactly. So what are they going to do now when the people they pick up in Louisiana and near the facility? Are they going to ship them to Minnesota? Or are they going to ship them to California? We really don't know. But they're trying to instill fear into the immigrant community, and that is bad for the nation overall.
I feel like this is kind of descending into chaos because the rules of law are there for a reason, to kind of keep order and to let people know this is what we can do, this is what we can't do. And since we're seeing so many of these sweeps happening across the country, some that have grown more violent than others, I'm mentioning that because of what we've seen in Chicago, where there were tear gas and whatnot, and we were even seeing reports here of them coming down, Border Patrol agents, when they came down to Louisiana, they were bringing certain things that they need. I don't know necessarily if they need it here, but bringing certain things here to assist in these raids. there are a lot of people who are confused by what is the law. So look, legally on both sides, as far as a Border Patrol agent goes and for a citizen here, can we just get some clarification? Because even the comments that I'm seeing on our social media pages are saying that we are in the wrong, and I'm almost sure that we are not. We're just trying to give you some clarity as to what can legally happen on both ends here.
So you are not in the wrong, I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
So a lot of people online are saying illegal immigrants have no constitutional rights. That's clearly false. Okay, of course they have rights. They have slightly less rights than we do as American citizens, but of course they have rights. They have the right to remain silent. They have the right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure under the Fourth Amendment. So I want to stress that to the people in this region, that while these people are not legally here, they have legal rights.
Okay.
And that they're not being followed. So the legal rules are not being followed by our current government. Our current government is somewhat lawless.
All right, well, we're going to get